In perhaps the most unexpected women's singles slam final ever, 18-year-old Brit Emma Raducanu takes on 19-year-old Leylah Annie Fernandez for the 2021 US Open crown. In the biggest match of both these two young ladies' lives, who will reign victorious Saturday evening? I'll break down this match and give my ultimate prediction of who I think will raise the trophy here on Grand Slam Tennis News Today. Comparing these two finalists, Emma and Leylah hadn't played one another previously on the WTA Tour, but looking at the stats, you can see that Leylah's had greater success and more experience as a professional, despite turning pro a year later than her British counterpart. Fernandez does have that maiden title from this season in Monterrey, but Emma lately has been racking up the greater results, of course, coming off that Wimbledon run, and then dropping down to the lower levels to pick up some wins there. Despite Emma being a qualifier and playing 3 more matches, she spent over an hour less on court than Leylah has this fortnight. Looking at the 9 players she's had to overcome just to reach this stage, she took out Skuz, Folkbaxe, and Sheriff just to qualify for the tournament. Then she took advantage of 13 seed Jen Brady's withdrawal to defeat unseeded Stephanie Vogele, Sui Zhang, Sarah Service Tormo, and Shelby Rogers to make the last 8. Then in the quarters and semis, she got her first 2 top 20 wins over Belinda Bencic and Maria Sakkari. Now, watching Emma's matches this week, what really stands out to me is her incredible ball striking abilities. Her form is really good on both sides, especially that backhand, where her down the line shot is just a thing of beauty. As the commentators have frequently noted, Emma loves her cross-court patterns as they help open up the court for the down-the-line finisher. Raducanu's returning has also been impressive this tournament. Maria Sakkari was incredibly dominant with her serve during her quarterfinal match against Karolina Pliskova. I think she won like 22 points in a row on serve at one point. However, Emma was smarter than Karolina and mixed up her return positions to give Sakkari different looks and make her think about it more. I also liked how Emma frequently returned deep and up the middle when stretched wide to the forehand, as it took away both time and angles from the Greek woman. Emma's serve isn't the most powerful by far, but is very consistent, and her second serve is pretty similar to the first in pace. I think when serving, she should try to utilize the wide serve to the deuce side pretty frequently, as it opens up the court for the 1-2 punch. Arna had good success whenever she did this too against Leylah. I also think the cross-court backhand to Leylah's forehand will be a good exchange for Emma, because if she continues to keep that shot deep, it'll make Leylah rush on that forehand wing, which can sometimes falter with depth. Now over to Leylah, she had a brutal draw, getting through Anaconda and Kai Kanepi in the first 2 rounds. Then she topped with Naomi in that eventful 3rd round match before backing it up with another comeback win versus Kerber. Then in the quarters and semis, she outlasted 5th and 2nd seeds Elena Svitolina and Arna Sabalenka respectively. The most notable thing about Leylah's game is how early she takes the ball and how close she stands to the baseline. She relies a lot on absorbing and redirecting pace, but in her semi-final match versus Sabalenka, she struggled a bit with that and was overpowered by the Belarusian in the first 5 games. However, the Canadian eventually adjusted to the pace and once again started getting the ball back on top of Sabalenka, making her feel rushed. I was also impressed with how Leylah was able to attack Sabalenka's second serve a bit to take away her time. She needs to do the same versus Raducanu, because Emma's opponents haven't really exploited that shot too much, and it'll surely cause the Brit to think harder when stepping up to the line. One of Fernandez's greatest attributes is her ability to just scramble and make a bunch of balls back in play. This is another thing Emma's opponents haven't really been able to do, even Sarah Service Tormo, who's a notorious pusher. Emma nearly double bageled her, so that should tell you a lot. I think by making Raducanu play that one extra ball, it'll cause her to perhaps go for more and spray additional errors. Then I believe Leylah should perhaps direct more of her shots up the middle versus Emma, as that takes away the amount of angles that she has. I don't have much as far as previous matches between these two go, because this is their first tour meeting, but Wimbledon did post 2-minute highlights of their encounter during the 2018 Wimbledon Juniors second round, which Emma won 6-2, 6-4. From what I saw, both ladies played similar, as Emma relied on her solid, consistent baseline game, while Leylah stepped up and tried to take balls early. I do think this matchup favors Emma because, as I mentioned previously, that backhand or forehand exchange will likely work in her favor. She also just seems to be more solid from the ground than Leylah overall. However, Fernandez definitely has some upsides which can get her this title. Of course, she is a lefty, so that definitely is a different look than what Emma's seen basically all tournament. Raducanu only played 1 lefty, and that was in the second round of qualies. I also believe that Leylah will make Emma play more balls than usual this match. Fernandez has been frustrating pretty much all of her opponents with her impeccable defense, so that one extra ball can definitely make the difference. That kind of plays into my next advantage, which is Leylah has faced by far tougher opposition and will be more prepared for any adversity she might face. From Osaka to Kerber to Svitolina to Sabalenka, she's faced just about every different game style and player. Now, not to take anything away from Emma's achievement, but her opponents did not play their best at all when they played her. I think a lot of this has to do with them not knowing how to play her because she is so new to the tour, but the fact that she hasn't dropped a set en route to her debut slam final is incredible. However, Leylah's been through the trenches this fortnight and none of her matches have been easy. Perhaps that might mean that she's underdone physically for the final, but mentally she knows that she's truly earned her spot to this final, knocking out these top players back to back to back. I think Leylah needs to have a strong start against Emma because the Brit is such a great frontrunner. Shelby Rogers went up 2-love in their 4th round match, but thanks to one sloppy game, Emma stormed right back and only dropped one additional game that entire match. The main key for Fernandez is to make things uncomfortable for Raducanu both game style wise and with the scoreboard pressure. While I know that she wants to win in straights, if Leylah can push this to 3, I think this match could be in her favor. Conversely, if Emma's able to get an early start and smother Fernandez, she'll be in a good place. I kind of expect this final to be either a sort of letdown with there being a 2-4 type scoreline or a 3-set thriller. I'll pick the latter and actually have Raducanu winning that battle because I do think the matchup will ultimately fall in her favor, plus I think her legs will last longer. Then we can't forget the Osaka curse, as her 2 previous conquerors, Vondrousova and Teichmann, eventually fell in the final stage of said tournament. We'll see if Leylah can reverse that here. Regardless of what happens though, this final matchup itself is astounding. This is just Emma's 4th WTA main draw event, and for her to reach her maiden slam final so soon and as a qualifier is just unbelievable. When she lost in the San Jose opening round, people were calling her a fluke, and now look at her, the first ever qualifier, man or woman, to make a slam final in the open era. Then Leylah, who had a solid start to the season, but fell off results wise. Nobody expected her to make this stage either, especially after the deficit she's faced this event. Just hats off to both young women, and I wish them a great match. That's all for my women's final preview, and let me know whether you agree or disagree about Raducanu taking the title in the comment section below. Also, make sure you subscribe and click the notification bell so you're notified whenever I post the men's final preview. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time here on Grand Slam Tennis News Today.